Hello. Let's discuss apologies. When do you use apologies? Why do you apologize for something? Is there ever a time when it's just right to apologize? Or is there never a time when it's right to apologize? And if so, how could that be? So let's look at apologies. Apologies are generally expressions of regret or wanting to make things different. For example, I apologize for what I did, but sometimes I've discovered in me that I use apologies in ways that are automatic. I don't really think about them. For example, a few days ago, uh, some team members from our events were coordinating a meeting, and they asked me to get back to them about a time when I could join. And when I did, it was 4 days after they asked me, and I started out by saying, "I'm sorry to be so late in getting back to you, and here's when I can do it. I hope that we can still get together." And one of my spiritual partners on that team said, "Gary, was that a frightened part of your personality? Because you apologized for being late. What did you hope to accomplish by that?" And as I thought about that, the only thing that I could have hoped to accomplish was a frightened part of my personality, hoped to arrange it so that my spiritual partners would still like me. They still want to work with me. They still love me. But I wasn't thinking about that. I just typed, "I'm sorry to be so late in getting back to you." But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if that's really something that was needed or healthy. Here's another example. I went with Linda to visit our granddaughter who's starting her first job out of college. And we had some coffee at a shop, and one of her friends from college was there, and his father had passed on recently. He was very close to his father and loved him very much. And when he told me that his father passed on, I said to him, "Oh, we'll join you in celebrating your father's life." And he lit up. He loved hearing that because other people were saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. My condolences. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that." But why would I be apologizing for the fact that his father's soul chose to leave the earth school? So look at what you know about authentic power. It's not possible for you to hurt someone else or for someone else to hurt you emotionally. Most people think that it is. But actually, someone can say something that will activate a frightened part of your personality. And when that part of your personality is active, then you will feel emotional pain. But it didn't come from the person who said something to you. It came from an interior dynamic, a dynamic in you. So, will apologizing to the person who said it or trying to change that person change anything in you? Not at all, because that interior dynamic will remain in place to be activated by someone else. And it has been activated in you in the past by yet other people. So if you look back, the last time you felt that kind of emotional pain, you'll realize it didn't have anything to do with the person who you thought just caused it in you. And if you look at the time before that, again, the same thing. It was appeared to be caused by yet another person, but it's the same pain each time. It's the same interior dynamic each time that's being activated in you. If it's a frightened part of your personality, if it's a loving part, there'll be wonderful experiences, blissful experiences. But the point is the same, that when someone else says something to you, they activate a part of your personality. Frightened when you experience emotional pain, and loving when you experience bliss. But they're not causing it. They're only activating a part in you. And the same thing when you talk to someone else. They may think that you're causing them pain if you say something that is they don't want to hear. But the more they develop emotional awareness and learn how to create authentic power, they'll see that you didn't cause them pain. an internal dynamic that got activated by you caused them pain. So if someone is experiencing pain and you apologize, how is it that you're apologizing for the fact that someone else decided to step out of their power, decided not to challenge a frightened part of their personality when it became active, decided not to create authentic power, but to indulge a fear? Why would you apologize for that? Why could you apologize for that? You didn't do anything. They're the ones that didn't challenge a frightened part or that didn't cultivate a loving part. And the same thing when someone says something to you that caused you pain. How can you hold them responsible for the fact that you chose not to challenge a frightened part of your personality, that you chose to indulge it and to indulge the pain? So the point of this is give this some thought. See if there's ever a time that's really appropriate for you to apologize or to want someone else to apologize for you. You're creating authentic power. That's why you're watching this video. That's why you're in the Authentic Power Immersion Program, or that's why you're reading The Seat of the Soul or The Heart of the Soul, because you want to become the authority in your own life, because you don't want to be controlled again and again by parts of your personality that have caused you so much pain and created so many destructive and painful circumstances in the past. And because of that, you are looking at whether you react to a frightened part of your personality when it's activated by someone else or respond to it with love. That's your choice. It's not their choice. And the same is so for them. So from the perspective of creating authentic power, there's never really an appropriate or a healthy time to say, oh, I'm sorry. It comes from fear in you. It's an attempt to manipulate someone else. And that's the pursuit of external power. And that produces only violence and destruction. Isn't it amazing? Once we begin to unpack our experiences and to look at them and see them for what they are, we can see how many of them come from fear when we don't even think about it. But how many of them could be coming from love, could come from love when we do think about it, when we do pay attention to whether a frightened part or a loving part of our personality has been activated, and challenge it by not acting on it when it's a frightened part, and cultivate it by acting on it consciously when it's a loving part.